You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Excited to talk some ball today. And speaking of ball, if you want to clean up your balls, you can do so with Manscaped. Head to manscaped.com/chat, enter the promo code chat. You get 20% off and free shipping on the best men's grooming products. That link is in the description of this video. Here's what we're tackling on today's show. We're going to talk about some John Wall trade destinations. And why are we discussing this? Because it looks as though his time with the Houston Rockets after one lone season, after he was traded there in exchange for Russell Westbrook, and that trade between the Rockets and the Wizards is going to come to an end. Shams Charania reporting this on Tuesday. After meeting and seeing eye to eye on the direction of the Houston Rockets, the franchise and John Wall have agreed on working together to find a new home for the five-time All-Star guard, sources tell The Athletic. The plan is for Wall to remain present around the Rockets organization heading into training camp, which begins later this month on September 28th, and to not play games for Houston this season, sources said. Wall is entering the second year in Houston after spending most of his career with the Washington Wizards. The big question right now is, who is John Wall as a player? And he was able to come off that Achilles injury last year and put forward a pretty solid year with a really bad Houston Rockets team. He was really the lone offensive force at the guard spot for the Rockets last year, and I thought he fared pretty well. When you look at the points per game and the assists per game output, John Wall was pretty good, almost 21 points per, dishing out almost 7 dimes a night. But the problem that I have with John Wall, and the issue that I've had with him throughout his NBA career, is the efficiency in terms of his shooting. He's never really been an efficient or effective shooter. That was the case last year with the Houston Rockets. That's been the case throughout his entire NBA career because he's always been hovering around 30% from distance and the low 40s from the field. I kind of compare John Wall to Russell Westbrook light. He's athletic like Russ. He's a game breaker. He's a magician in the open floor. And to watch him athletically, sometimes he's a spectacle, but he's so maddeningly inconsistent at times. And that's why I think his value has never been worth the contract. Speaking of the contract, if a team does trade for John Wall, and it seems imminent over the next couple of weeks or months, they are going to have to absorb a massive base salary. I think John Wall's deal is one of the worst contracts across the entire NBA. Base salary the next 2 years of 2 years, $91.7 million. That, folks, is brutal for the player that John Wall is now and the injury issues that have surfaced over the last couple of years. And also, guy's been in the league since 2010 when he was the first overall pick out of Kentucky, so he is getting older. Coming up in just a few moments, we will break down these John Wall trade destinations and look at some of the teams that I put together that could trade for John Wall and some rosters he could foot well on. But first, let me ask you this. How would you grade John Wall? I know a lot of you hoopers out there are big NBA 2K fans, so take this on the NBA 2K scale and grade John Wall for me on a scale of 1 to 100. Producer Jeremy, who's killing it today on the producer chair, said around 79. I might go into the low 80s, but John Wall, as I mentioned, certainly not worth that price tag. NBA Now is presented to you by our friends at Manscaped. You can get 20% off on the best men's grooming products by going to manscaped.com/chat. And when you enter the promo code chat, again, 20% off and free shipping. Throughout his NBA career, John Wall has balled out. Well, if you want to ball out, you can do so with Manscaped. Here's the great thing about the Lawnmower 4.0, which is on your screen right now, and all of the great products from Manscaped. You don't want to be so hairy downstairs where you're with your lady and you're like, damn, you're that hairy? That is all time scary. So clean it up. And the great thing about the Lawnmower 4.0, you can use it downstairs. You can use it on your chest, your back, your beard, your hair, because there are multiple interchangeable blades, a battery life that lasts forever. There's even a light on the Lawnmower 4.0, which looks as though it was built in a transformer lab, so you're able to see everything that you're doing, and there's safeguard technology. So you go out there and you buy some of those cheap-ass razors and those cheap-ass buzzers, and then they kind of cut you up all over the place. Yeah, you don't want that. So once again, manscaped.com/chat, enter the promo code chat, 20% off and free shipping on the best men's grooming products out there on the market. It's a no-brainer. That link and that information is in the description. All right, let's hop over to these John Wall trade destinations. I first want to start off with the Los Angeles Clippers. What's one of the glaring needs on the Clippers roster? It's point guard. And I think the Clippers organization could benefit having John Wall's experience, his athleticism. I still think the dude is a great playmaker. You saw that in spurts, especially that he plays well alongside stars throughout that Wizards tenure when he was with Bradley Beal. And I think he'd fit pretty well on the Clippers roster. Now, let's hope that Kawhi Leonard comes back at some point next year, because this potential starting five in Los Angeles could maybe rival the other starting five in Los Angeles with the Lakers. Certainly a younger starting five with the Clippers, but John Wall, Kawhi Leonard, Reggie Jackson, who re-upped in free agency, Paul George, and Serge Ibaka, that's a team that I think could be in the mix in the Western Conference, and that's a lineup with a lot of different versatility. Let's go to the New Orleans Pelicans now. The pressure is on New Orleans to win right now and make Zion Williamson happy. That's what you got to do if you're New Orleans. You have a generational talent in Zion. He showed last year when he averaged 27 points per game that he is truly one of one. He can play small ball five. He can play the four. He even played point guard last year with Stan Van Gundy. And I like some of the other pieces on the roster. David Griffin has done a good job rebounding from that awful hire of Stan Van Gundy to put together a team that should make it to the playoffs. So John Wall is your point. That's an immediate upgrade from Eric Bledsoe last year. There's no doubt about it. Then you have Brandon Ingram as a scoring wing. Devontae Graham and John Wall can flip with playing the 1 and 2, because I think both guys can succeed off ball. And then you brought in Jonas Valanciunas through a trade this offseason as well. This is a guy who can average 17 points per game and 14 rebounds per and just fill up the stat sheet. So John Wall and the Pelicans, I do think it could work. What do you think, though? What's a better fit for John Wall? Is it the Clippers? Is it the Pelicans? This is your opportunity to sound off in the comments section. Let me know. Type LAC for the Clippers. Type NOP for the New Orleans Pelicans. I'd probably lean Clippers, but I think both fits do work. As for the Philadelphia 76ers, let's say and approach this as if Ben Simmons gets dealt for John Wall. Now, if it comes to that, and Ben Simmons' value is so low that he can only be traded for John Wall, that's bad front office mismanagement by the Philadelphia 76ers, because last year, Ben Simmons was almost included in a deal for James Harden, but Daryl Morey didn't pull the trigger. So this is worst case scenario for Philly. But a starting five of John Wall, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Danny Green, Joel Embiid, I think could have Philly as a top 4 or 5 team in a loaded Eastern Conference. John Wall and Maxey can kind of switch off with playmaking duties at the point guard spot. New York Knicks. Now in free agency, they were going after some of the big fish in the free agent pond, like a Chris Paul and a Kyle Lowry. Now, they weren't able to get those guys because Lowry went to the Heat. Chris Paul re-upped with Phoenix. I thought that was a very smart move. And the Knicks were very active in free agency. But are they still lacking at point guard? And could John Wall be an upgrade over a guy like Kemba Walker? Is Emmanuel Quickley not yet ready to take the reins as the starting point guard in the Mecca, the great city of New York? Maybe John Wall is the answer in the short term, because I'm not sure this is a long-term play. The Knicks really impressed me last year. I think the arrow is pointing up for this franchise. I love what they did in free agency. This is a roster that is really, really deep. John Wall would add to that, and a starting five for Tibbs of John Wall, RJ Barrett. I think he's going to make another massive jump from his sophomore season, which he was so much better than he was in his rookie year, to his third campaign. Evan Fournier can score the rock and put the biscuit in the basket. Julius Randle was really just so impressive last year with how his game fast-tracked and how he was able to develop. That's why he was the most improved player. And then you don't really have to ask Mitchell Robinson to do too much down low. He can rebound, block shots, cater to his strengths, and John Wall can create and play make. So of those last two teams, I'm going to ask you a similar question that I asked you before, but pick between Philly and New York. It's a Northeast rivalry, so let's get it. Who's the better fit for John Wall now? Is it the Sixers? Type PHI. Is it the Knicks? Type NYK. A reminder, subscribe to Chat Sports. Look, I know we're all into the NFL season because we're going into week 2. NFL football is litty, but NBA training camp starts September 28th. The regular season starts in mid-October, so the NBA season is right around the corner, and here at Chat Sports, we cover this league all year round, and we're trying to get to 270,000 subscribers on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel as soon as possible. So hop on board, join the family, and it's a no-brainer if you want the best NBA news and rumors right here on YouTube.